All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's discussion with Tao Guan, our photographer of our current exhibit, The Pleasanton Ones. So thank you all for joining us tonight. We wish we could have you in person at the museum, but instead we are doing this virtually, as you know, on YouTube Live. So thank you for joining us. I know, Tao, I'm particularly excited about this show, about this program because I was so excited about your exhibit and about your photography being seen by our community. And unfortunately, when we were first going to have your show in March, the pandemic kind of started and we had to shut down. And then we were hoping by December we could reschedule and show it to the whole community. And unfortunately, again, we had to shut down. So tonight, you have graciously allowed us to share with the public your photography through slideshow format. So some of you who have joined us might have seen that as you were coming on to the live stream. So we are going to show you those again tonight. We're going to be talking to Tao more about his work, his process, and anything else you may have questions about. So thank you, Tao, for joining us and for sharing your work with us tonight and also at the museum. We really appreciate you being here.
Thanks, Sarah. It's my honor.
Good. I'm so excited. So I want to start by kind of letting people know the format of tonight. And then I have a few questions that I'm going to ask you to get started with. So we're going to introduce Tao. We're going to ask him a few questions, and then we'll go into the slideshow again so that you can see it in its entirety. Those are all of the photographs that are on display at the museum on Main right now, and they're known as the Pleasanton Ones. They're part of Tao's book, The Pleasanton Ones. And so you'll see those. We'll come back and we'll ask questions of Tao. If you have questions that you'd like to ask him, then if you have a YouTube account, you can do that in the chat section of the YouTube live stream. If you don't have a YouTube account, you either can see it, but you can't actually put in your own questions. So if you don't have a YouTube account, you can email me any questions you may have at education@museumonmain. So don't hesitate to do that. We have somebody who is managing both the chat and checking for emails coming in. So send it either way, we'll get it and we'll ask your questions for you. Okay. And then after that, we'll show we have kind of another slideshow to show you, a little bonus slideshow that Tao has created for us. And then we have, we'll have some more questions, and then we'll do closing statements, and then we will show you the Pleasanton One slideshow one more time, because I know, Tao, as you said, it's good to see it more than once. It's not long, but it's not short, but you kind of need to see it more than once, I think. So yeah, so we'll show it again at the end, and then the live stream will be over. So that's kind of our plan for the evening. So let's get started. So my first question to you, Tao, is how long have you been taking photographs, and what type of photography do you specialize in?
I've been taking photos actually for many years, because these days the camera is quite common, in every household. And not like, when I was a kid and we don't have cameras at home. And my dad normally, borrow from somebody else. And but initially, when I first got my cameras, and it's more like a family travel and reunion or things. And it's not really into a serious photography. And then my son was born, and then I start getting serious, because my wife said, okay, you better take photos, because someday your son going to ask you, where's my photos? Yes. I'm getting a little serious. And then my son go to elementary school, and then I start to photograph some of those school events and the class show and the Halloween parade and the choirs and the football. And that's the main thing. Every kid's activity has to be captured. I think that's a task every parent have.
Right. Yeah, you see their experience through the lens, right? Like you.
That's right. And actually, one thing I want to remind every young parents, and don't forget take photos of the kids because you will regret if you don't.
Yes.
And so then I start to getting a little serious because my photos for the school events was a big contribution to the every year the school book and yearbook.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
then I got some compliment and from school teacher and the parents to say, hey, you have done a great job, and they really capture kids' spirit, activities, and we really appreciate. So then I got kind of encouraged, and I said, maybe I should get serious, a little serious about photography. So then I got started the whole thing and the photography, and initially mostly besides school functions and all those activities, and but mostly landscape. Yeah.
Hmm. And then you moved from landscape to more kind of documentary portrait, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, how long have you been doing that more that type of photography?
Yeah, I think I made the transition, probably 6 years back, and a few things, after years of taking photos, and I start to think, what should be my main focus, and
Hmm.
because I think a little bit more about what photography is, and the photography, it's really by in general term is really a capture the moment, and then what are those moments? And the sunset and sunrise and the Milky Way is the one thing, and but how about the everyday life
Hmm.
around us? And because in many cases, it's the photography is really it's really help us to document and remember what's happening, the history, and I remember many years back I read some article about one of a very famous show called The Family of Men, and it was in New York, MoMA, it's 1956. I think
Hmm.
it's curated, organized by the famous photographer Edward Stuyton. And all those photos are coming from millions of people, and amateur, professional, and what is really captured is really people's daily life. It's a relationship to themselves and to their family, to their community, and actually the scope of the photos is really amazing. Is document a birth of a baby and also the death and people, and that's the life. And so nothing spectacular, and but it's really touched millions of people's heart because people think when they see the photos they see themselves and see their family and kids and the community. So I'm kind of very much inspired by the book, and I said, okay, um, a photograph can be taken in such a way, because before I never realized,
Yeah.
things. So yeah, that's how I get into the documentary and street photography.
I love that. And I think that I think being inspired by that, to me, I think that's in a lot of ways what you've been able to do is capture kind of this spirit and this, you feel connected to your photographs instantly. And I think it's probably because you end up seeing yourself reflected in those, your family, your daily life, you going to the farmer's market or whatnot.
Yeah.
So now I think what a great thing to do would be to share the slideshow in its entirety again, and let everybody who's viewing see it. And you may be viewing it now, you may come back and view this later. So thank you, whether you're joining us now or if you're joining us in the future. We hope you enjoy these. So we're going to share them, and then we're going to come back with Tao. All right. So I hope you all enjoyed that. I've seen that slideshow so many times, and every time I see something different and I'm moved by it, and it just makes me proud to be a part of this community. So anyways, that's neither here nor there, but I do want to tell everybody out there a little bit about how this exhibit got started. Tao came in, and we had a show about the Japanese internment camps, and we had a gentleman who had been with his family in those camps and then was also a veteran of Korea. And so he came in, and he was there here at the museum during that exhibit several times a week to share his stories and his experiences with the public. And unbeknownst to us, Tao came in and took a portrait of him in the museum on one of those occasions. And he stopped into the museum a little bit after the show and shared it with us. And um, that gentleman, he'll always stay. I'll always remember him. He will. I think he's since passed on, but so when you brought that photo in and then you shared your book with me, we knew immediately that we needed to create an exhibit because these were such special photographs. And so what I'd like to know a little bit more about, and I know you talked about this a little bit in our interviews that we did leading up to this program, but how did this book come about? Why did you decide to make a book? Can you tell everybody out there a little bit more about that process?
Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, so we family moved to Pleasanton 6 years ago, and from Cupertino, and we immediately, fell in love with this town, and just naturally blended into the community, and we feel, this is a really nice, welcoming, a place for our family, and with photographer's curiosity, and actually I want to find out why. And maybe, then I start to walk around in farmers market and downtown every weekend, and just carry my camera, and no plan, no agenda. I just walk around and then talking to people. And one of the person, I really want to mention him here is Gary Winter. And if you are long time resident of Pleasanton, and you go to farmers market and at the corner of the street, and you will see a person who will always be there talking to people, and sell this the miniature replica of the houses. And
do you want me to show them a picture of Gary right now?
Yes.
Okay.
And he's one of the most photographed person in my portfolio. And then we start talk, and it's nothing really special, and it's just about daily life, and got to know each other, and we talk about my background, and Gary talked about his a passion, and career, and so then one day he asked me, he said, "Tao, what are you going to do with the photos?" And I said, "I don't know. I just started, and the whole project, and actually that time it's not really a project yet. It's just some photos." And then I next week, and then I came to Gary. I said, maybe I should do a book, and but I'm not very good at having a name for the book. What's your suggestion? So then Gary, then he looked her away and said, "How about the Pleasanton ones?" I said, "Yeah, that I like it, because the photography is really about everythingness and the oneness of the mankind, and it's a mirror of this human condition, and I said I like it." So that's how it started. And actually we had this name way before the book was, made. But
Mhm.
actually, this helped me to really um, get my subject, the clarity of the theme, set in place. Then I said, okay, that's the subject and the topic I need to focus on, because
Mhm.
as a photographer, sometimes get distracted by many things. And for this type of project, you really have to focus, be patient. And another thing about photography is really about the art of the observation. And you're talking to people, and observe on the street. And so that's how we started the whole this book. And
That's
over the
great.
time, we got to know more people. And also, yeah, so that's how we started.
That's great. Um, so it looks like, oh, we got some great photos. We got comments, great photos. Looking forward, Phil Montgomery says, looking forward to seeing you downtown soon, which is nice. And that, I think that goes to see, like, you've become, I'd say Gary Winters is one of those people that if you're around Pleasanton downtown, especially, you've seen or know Gary. And it seems like you're becoming one of those people too. So many people know you, and they've heard about your work. And so, how do when you see somebody, do you just approach somebody? How do you decide what pictures to take and who you want to take, and how do you gain their trust, or get them to let you take a picture?
And good question. I've been asked about this question many times. And it's to me, it's really a process, and it's an experience. And especially for the street photography, the one of a challenge is how you observe things with the intuition, and how you quickly react to the situation in front of you. And at the same time, how you get connected to people, and in the scene. And there's two type of street photography. And the one thing is the photographer just want to hide themselves and make them unnoticed. That's one type of things. And so the photo shows what is mostly the action and spontaneous character. And that's one thing. I have those some of those photos. And but most of the photo, if you saw in the video, is already connected with the subject. And it's a that's thing. The one thing, the challenge with the street photography is how you get connected with the totally stranger. And you maybe met in the first time, then, but now you have to take a photo of them. And it's a challenge, and it's a sweet challenge, because you got to know people. And I think my approach is treat the people and respect the people you want to be treated and respected. And I think we are all common, regardless of where our background is. And we are all common, and we can see whether sincerity, and whether gestures are genuine. And so I think and over the time, I think I'm kind of blessed. And I never got people say no. At
Well,
least in
that's great.
Pleasanton. And so it's so then the other thing about the photography, especially the street photography, is really is a test and a process of how the subject handles camera and the photographer in front of them. Because that's why you have to get engaged with them and show your interest in knowing them, and know what they want to say. And quite often they're talking about the Pleasanton history and how long they have been living here. And I think people love to tell you how great the Pleasanton is. And that's exactly what I'm trying to know. And so I think this is a great match.
Yeah, definitely. People do love to talk about Pleasanton for sure. They love to talk about how great it is, which it is great. So I think that makes sense. And I think you clearly you have a knack for putting people at ease and making them feel comfortable, which is great. And I think that, treat people the way that you would be treated, respect them that way is a good lesson to live by in taking street photography and also just in life. So I think that's great. One other question, I think it kind of plays into this a little bit, is one person that you talked about is, you meet these people, you take pictures of them, and then you end up knowing them and remembering them, and then you see them on the streets later, and you become friends with these people. So it's not just Gary that and you become friends with, but you've become friends with a lot of the subjects that you've taken pictures of. Is that's I'm not misremembering that, right? Is that true?
Yes, I think the Phil, the gentleman, he just posed the questions,
Yes.
and I took his photos, and before I knew him, and actually then one day, and I think Phil and the wife and other friends and dressed up in those century-old costume, and walk around in downtown. And so then I took the photo, and years later, and I spot them again. Then I said, "Excuse me, and sir, and do you know this guy? I have a photo in my phone." So I showed them. They said, "Oh, that's us." So then we get to know each other, and he purchased one of the book. And I promised. I said, okay. Then I found out I didn't have any. I said sorry, Phil, and maybe a next version. But later I found it. Then I emailed. So we met in coffee shop, and so then we become friends. Now after that we see each other quite often. And actually in the new book, and the sheltering place in Pleasanton, and Phil is showed up in many of the photos. And I think since we're talking about the Phil, and is one thing is one day and he talked to me, and during the shelter in place, and because during that time there are lots of uncertainty, and people are depressed, and the whole thing is uneasy. And then I said, I texted him. I said, Phil, are you coming to a farmers market tomorrow? I said, maybe we are not coming, and because it's odd, everybody's unhappy, depressed, and come over dressed up like this. And I said, Phil, I respect your opinion, but from my standpoint view, I said, you are doing people a favor, because you are cheering people up. And Pleasanton, we are in a difficult time, but we need somebody and to cheer people up and take us forward. And so next day, and Phil showed up. And so then we took more photos, and that's why when you see in the next video, and people see how Phil dressed up, and
Oh, that's great. So do you want to, it seems like a great segue, because you have created a second book, Shelter in Place in Pleasanton, and it is for sale at the museum. We'll just plug that right now. But as well as a few other I want to say realtors, but retailers around downtown, including Town Center Books. I think Studio 7 has it, a few other locations. But we have, Tao, you created the slideshow so that we can share the images in that book on this show tonight, on this discussion with. But tell us a little bit before we show that the slideshow of that book. What's the inspiration for the book? How did that book get started?
Yeah, so as you said, this show was supposed to be on March 18th, and everybody is excited, and even Phil said, "Okay, we are going to the reception, and dressed up the way we were in the picture.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, so I think all the people, and we were in some of the photos, they're regular in farmers market, and then suddenly COVID-19 and shelter in place, and everybody's life has changed from that moment. And I stayed at home for a month and not going anywhere. The only place I go is the rallies. And I remember my wife said, "Okay, you get your glove and a mask and extra layer of the clothes, and it's like." It's like a war zone, something like that.
Yeah, it
Initially,
was
and the
crazy.
people
The
don't
first
know
month.
what's happening. It's and then later on, I start to go walk on the street of Pleasanton, and I start to take some random photos, and no specific agendas, and I just want to capture what's going on there. And then the more I go to the street, and probably. And one of the things I saw, in the town, in the street, is all the shop is closed, and the restaurant is only doing the takeout, and nobody on the street. And I saw, one of the photos I took around the 7 or 6 o'clock, and normally that's the time there are supposed to be lots of people, and it's just so quiet. And the ice cream shop is closed, and so it's a difficult time. And so for this book, it's also, last time we talked in the museum, is also is a reflection of my personal reflection of a difficult time. And I'm also in an emotional roller coaster during that time, and see what's going on. There's so many things happen, not only the virus, and then also the demonstration, all those things. And so then I said, maybe I should continue and do what I need to do. And then during that time, I talked to some store owner, and how they feel. And but the people I talked to, and they show their resilience, resolve, and are still optimistic. And people on the street, and are still, everybody wearing masks. And when some place of the country is still debating whether we should wear masks, but the Pleasanton people is wearing masks. And so that really shows, the character of this town, and the people, and the empathy for each other, because wearing mask is not only for yourself and also for the other people. And so then I start to capture those moments, and also getting lots of encouragement from friends, and they say, okay, this is a very special, and Tao, you should continue to do this photography. And initially I taking some landscape in the backyard and stuff. Then I start to go to a farmer's market when it's open up in May. And then, I got to see more people, and take a portrait of them. And that's how things start. And then I said, okay, after having enough photos taken, then I said, maybe I should get a book. And that's how it started.
Yeah, and I think you'll see the photos in a second, but um they're what you'd expect from your photography. And I think at the museum we're extra grateful that you've done this and you've created this book and this compilation, because we are living in such a historic moment right now. I mean, every day is history, but this feels particularly historic. And when we look back at the last pandemic, and in 1918 with the flu, we don't really have that much documentation of that and how that happened in Pleasanton, and how, we don't have images of it. I know photography wasn't as widespread as it is today, but just in general, it's not that well documented in terms of the local experience. And so to have kind of you documenting it, the way that you have is going to be great, not just for now, for us all to reflect on our own experiences now and into the future, but also for future generations to see this, in 50, 100 years, 200 years, to look at these photos, for people who are living in Pleasanton to say, this is how Pleasanton dealt with this. So I just, from that standpoint, I'm glad that you did it. And then I think we'll share the video now, the slideshow, but I think it is reflective. You reflect on your own time and your own experience. So I hope you all enjoy. So I'm going to show those and then we'll be back with Tao. All right. Tao, you're always so much faster at getting back on the screen. Um, all right. So I hope you all enjoyed those. That's that's a slideshow of all the images that are in the book that Tao created, like I said, that are on sale. I would highly recommend picking up a copy for yourself. Just to document this moment and our community and the resiliency and the joy and the hopefulness that we have. I would love for you to share, Tao, the story of there's a little boy. It's at the end of the book. It's not the end
Yeah.
of the slideshow, but there's a little boy sitting in front of the museum on Main. And I think it speaks volumes to the kind of hopefulness that we all share. So I would love it if you could share that with the audience.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So I think during this past 6 months, every day and maybe every week, and if I have time, I just walk on the downtown Main Street and just carry a camera and watching, and the people are especially after the May 19th, after shelter in place lifted, and people come out and having dinner and on the street, and it's such a wonderful scene. It's more like a rejuvenation of the yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was just sitting in front of the museum, and then a little boy just circling around, and probably, and he's bored, and mom parents are eating in a restaurant, he's bored. So then we start to he's like a play some game, hide and seek. So when he suddenly showed up, put his head up the bench, then I took the photos. Then he came to me, and then we started a conversation for like 20 minutes. And then the little boy name is Brian. Maybe you can show his photos there.
Oh,
And,
is he's in there? Okay. Yes.
and so then we're talking about how he is, and he said, I'm going to the first grade, and I love ride a bicycle, and and after he said, I want to have a puppy. I said, what do you want? He said, I want a puppy, and I want a baby sister after all this is over. And then at that moment, I was so struck by his words, and from little kids, and his name Brian, and and so it's a give me kind of a sense of a hope. And when a small kids, a 7-year-old kids, think that way, and why can't we feeling the same? And so it's have a sense of the promise. And then after that, he said, "Can we, play some more games like a picture taking?" I said, "Yeah, I can do that." So I took a few photos of him, and but I really, really regret I didn't bring my card with me, and so that I can give the card to his parent. I know he's not from Pleasanton, but he's probably from some other place. So
Oh,
in the
like maybe Livermore, Dublin, or something.
yeah, audience, if you know this boy, and please let him know. And Uncle Tao is really missing him. And please get in touch with the museum or me. And I'd like to send the photo to their parents, to the little Brian.
Yeah, it's such a great photo, and I think so. Yes, help get Brian his photo. But what little boy is so hopeful, but also hopes for a little baby sister? I just think that is so magical and just such a great story. So
Yeah.
um, I just love it. So thank you for sharing that. Our next question for you is one that we had to, because the fan in the museum came on, and we had to edit it out of our videos that we did of our interviews. But I would love to have people hear more about why you love Pleasanton. It's very clear to me, and I'm sure to others, why that you do love Pleasanton. You can see it in the photography that you do. So what is it about Pleasanton? Why do you love it so much?
Yeah, so I think when I published the first book, and the Pleasanton ones, and I need some introduction, some essay go with the book. And my son Anthony was probably just entered high school, ninth grade. I said, Anthony, okay, Daddy give you a task, and can you just look at the photos and can you write something there? So after I came back, and he wrote some essay. So actually the essay introduction in the book is done by Anthony Guan, my son. So
Oh, great.
one of the statement he said, the people that make up a community are what define that community. To many passing by, an ordinary town may feel just like another place. To those who make up the town, it's not just a place, it's a home. And I said, okay, this is a little deeper than your age. I said, Anthony, how did you come up with this? He said, I look at your photo for 2 hours. That's what I feel. I said, okay, thank you. Let's go have ice cream. So yeah, so that's how we start. So, it is really the people who, in the community define the community. Everywhere could be somebody's home, but why we love Pleasanton? Because we live here. But the one thing also, I feel is this town is very special, and they respect the tradition. And what is the tradition? Tradition is really, to me, is a belief and a reinforcing of value and a passing generation to generation. And the one thing I people should, in Pleasanton, they more aware, what is the biggest event a year? Memorial service, the biggest gathering whole year. And the 4th of July, a concert. Mm-hmm. And it's really, something, it's a bond, the community together. And, the veterans you will see, in those today everywhere, they showed up in many events, and they're the soul and the spirit of this town. And because those are the people who fought and sacrificed for this country, for this community. And, so over the time I've been photographing, the veterans in different, place. Sometimes I went to their, Saturday and gathering, and also, taking photo of them. And I have an album of those photos, because it's really, shows the value of this, the character of this town, and those people are really leading the way. And in one of those like a memorial service and stuff, and you will see Boy Scout and the kids there. And to me, it's more like okay, they are passing the torch to the next generation, and you really feel they love the town. And it's a in many ways, the patriotism or love for community is not something in their words, it's in their actions. And one thing I think, Sarah, can you go to the last of the photos?
Yes.
Yes. Go to the yes.
This
yes.
one?
Yes. Yes. Okay. So this is a photo actually I took 2 weeks back, but I noticed this couple for a few years. And every time, a few times, and I drove by the Sono Boulevard, I will see two people, a couple walking very fast. They're holding the bag and collecting the garbage. And a few times I want to find them, but every time I get my car parked, and I couldn't find them. And 2 weeks ago, and then I saw them, far away, walking towards me. Then I quickly parked the car, and then I walked towards them, and I introduced myself to them. And they're a little awed, in awe. I say, okay, who is this guy? I want to take a photo of us. And what are you going to do with our photo? So I tell them, say, okay, I'm Tao, and I'm community photographer, and they said, "Oh yeah, we come back and then you can take photos." So I'm just waiting there, and in 20 minutes when they walk by, and go to the probably the previous photos, and
Oh, previous, yes.
yeah, previous photos,
Oh,
and
okay.
there are already in 20 minutes already walked to another side
Yeah.
of the street, and they are collecting the garbage, and we have those things. The machine will probably truck will clean up the street, but the path as actually clean up the garbage from the bush. The next photo is, and so I took those photos when they're not noticing me, and so it really tells, it's the people in this town, and their integrity, their empathy, and they love about this community. And this photo is not in the show, but it's really tells about what Pleasanton is, and
Yeah.
it's people, and actually make this town, and it's so attracting to all of us.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's this shows exactly the character of the community that we love so much, that these people would go out there and do that all, frequently enough that you've seen them. Um, so that is great. Um, I'm going to quickly stop the share. Let me see what other questions we have. I have two kind of, would you ever consider selling your work, and can you buy the prints that are on display? So those kind of go hand in hand a little bit. So I don't know if you want to answer those questions.
Yeah, sure, Sarah. And I never sell any photos in my life. And many people, typically I take photos, and sometimes I send them digital copy, and sometimes I print and send to the people I knew. And my friends, they're in Canada, they're a group of poets, and they want to use the photos and to write poetry. And they use my photos. I say, yeah, go ahead, free, do whatever you want. And one day, and she told me, say, okay, I have got the budget. I want to pay you for the photos. I said, no, the, it's my donation to your society, poetry society. So, you asked me this question. So I think, for me, those photos belongs to community, and it doesn't belong to just me. And this show is not for town; it's for the Pleasanton ones. And
Mm-hmm.
so, in terms of the photos, and I would say at the end of the show, if anybody want to purchase, and can contact the museum, and all the proceeds, and we will go to the send them to charity, because thanks Christmas is coming. It's a festival. There are lots of unfortunate, less fortunate people, and they need help. And I think you pay. We can have some. I'm thinking, just thinking, right now is we probably have some price, but if you want to pay more, and those money will go to the charity. And personally, I will donate all those cost of the material, all the stuff, and we will send to the charity in the name of the Pleasanton ones. And that's what I'm thinking.
I think that's great. So, I think you're so generous that you don't charge, for the photography, and that you view this as being owned by, being the communities, not yours, but that it's the communities. And I think that right there embodies the character of our community so much, and that you're so generous, and that you would want to take, you already donated, you had all the images framed and framed beautifully for the museum, and that was a cost to you, and then to now want to sell those framed prints out and then have the proceeds go to charity in the name of the Pleasanton Ones and our community, I just think is really special. And so thank you. And so if anybody out there is interested in purchasing them, you can call the museum and we can talk that through and work that out. But I think I know Jim said this, but I'm just so glad that you moved here 6 years ago and that you're part of our community. And I think those kind of actions and the way that you perceive the community and how you're documenting it, I'm so happy that you're part of it, so I'm glad you moved here 6 years ago. Although you've been here longer than I have. I only moved 5 years ago. So I'm the newcomer out of the two of us. So that kind of answers that. And then one question that I'm seeing is, what cameras do you use? I'm sure there are probably some photographers out there who want to know the technical stuff about what cameras you use. Do you use film versus digital? More the technical aspects of your photography.
Yeah, so I start with the digital. In the old days of film, then digital, and digital become popular 2004 or 5. I got the first one, and 6 years ago, actually, I transitioned to the film cameras. And people ask quite often why you moved to the film, and I think film, digital, it's just a medium, and just camera is a tool help us to take the photos. But to take a good photos, first you have to have an idea and what to take, and you have to have a clarity of this, on those questions, because to a photographer is it's not the photo. A photo is really you first have to have something to say. It's not something at the time you have to say. It's say means click the button. You have to have a clarity on the scene you want to capture. So I think with the film, to me is really make me a more disciplined and think more and click less. Yeah. And because film is precious in some way, and versus the SSD card, and 135 36 frame and 120 is 12 frame, and every frame count and every frame costs something. And so to me is make me more disciplined. So in a way, especially in the street photography, and if not careful, you can take hundreds of them. But with a film, you can't. So it forces you to think and basically slow myself down, and to start to think and make sure every frame counts. So if you look at all those photos in the show, in the video, and they're all single photos. There's no second shot. With
okay.
10 shots is come out. And the other thing is with the film is the reason you have to be careful is there's a joke is that if you take a bad shot, it will stay with you, because unless you throw the negative away, versus digital, you just delete, it's gone. So it's a more like I think it's a choice of the tool, but the idea is have a have a good training of basic principle and the technique of photography, and then use it in your exercise practice, and regardless of what this camera is. And the other thing I prefer film camera, especially old film camera, is very simple and 2-button. And because photography is a triangle, 3 character is the shutter speed and aperture and the ISO. And with the film, ISO is fixed, then only have a 2 control. Have to worry about it. And then versus these days the digital cameras have pages of menus, and now if you focus more on that one, you basically you have a less focus on the actual subject or scene want to see. And
Yeah.
actually, to me, it's a very helpful. And the camera, I don't even have a meter. I calculate it myself based on like a Sunny 16 and those rule which has been popular for over 100 years. And you go somewhere if a sunny day, and what is the speed, and it will tell you. And so it's a different people have a different style, but one thing is really clarity on what you want to capture. That's the key. Yeah.
And one thing you brought up is that you have these principles that you've learned. Have you gone to school for photography or taken classes in photography, or is this something you've learned through your many years taking photographs?
Yeah, I think the book is my teacher, and yeah. So I think one thing is learned over the time, and also have a mentor and friends, and is learn from the best, and learn the principle of the photography, and the basic for example, the composition, how to like a rule of third, and all those isolation, and all those techniques. And but view those masters photos, and it will tell you and what kind of photo can be taken and how. And so I think this is a very good experience for me. And by looking at the book and learning from experts and master and the friends is really make me a better photographer in the one sense. The other thing is learn some from a life lesson from their experience. Mm-hmm. And so over the time, it's kind of rewarding experience to me.
Yeah, I would imagine so. And then one other thing I forgot to mention that I didn't realize that with each shot, there's no second shot. You didn't do like at least three. It's just that one, and you hope it's good.
Yes, I think so. That's why it's a focusing. The setting has to be perfect.
Yeah.
And also because every time in the film, after you click, you have to, wind to advance the film, and it cannot be that fast. And technically, it's impossible. And the other thing is, if you think you take good shot, why you take second? Maybe for the, insurance, yes, you do. And so the other thing is, if you take more, then the other thing is, what are you going to do with it? You have to process them, and you have to select them. So do a selection, afterwards. So if you've done everything right at the spot, then you save your time. And again, you can focus more on the taking photo instead of processing photos.
Right, that's true. Yeah. And you also had said to me that you've now started processing them yourself, right? Because of COVID-19 has kind of forced you to learn how to process them yourself.
Yes, before, I'm software engineer for 30 years, and it's quite busy at work, and it's hard. And so I usually take to Mike's camera in Dublin, and ask them to develop for me, and I scan myself. But with the COVID-19, the shop was closed, and I have no choice. And so I just learned it, and by myself. And the first time it was messy, but actually, the chemical and all over the place on the tables. But luckily, the image came out.
Oh, good. Okay. You didn't lose anything.
Yeah. So I think, with that, it's really helped me, on this project, the shelter in place. And typically I take the photo in the day, and at night I develop and scan. It's more like a photojournalist. and you make sure the photo is ready for next day's paper. Newspaper.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a yeah, it's a great experience, and talking about this, then also I'm thinking, although the whole year we're talking, we all facing the difficult time, and a lot of things changed. At the same time, we also get something, uh, rewarded in certain way. For example, for me, we spent opportunity to spend more time with the families, and it's then from photography side, I got to learn how to develop a film, black, white, and the color one, and so yeah.
Yeah, I think we all, there's always pluses and, obviously it's very challenging, but
Yeah.
there's, just like in your book, there's hope, there's positives to it. There's smiles, there's happiness, there's joy still.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I bet going from like photography to coming home to developing and then scanning and doing that every time is almost like therapeutic to now go through the whole process. It's just like even more ownership over it.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's great. And then let's see, I'm just checking to see if we have any other questions. And you did say you're a software engineer. Would you ever consider doing photography as a full-time job?
Okay, that's a tough question. I first have to consult my wife
Yeah.
whether she allows me to change my career. And
Wise.
so, yeah, the photography is really becoming my, main hobby. After work, it's more like a relaxation thing for me, and it's not only taking photos and, as I said, reading book and those things, and so I think, being an artist photographer is hard. It takes lots of effort and the training and stuff, and also many cases, for the type of a project I'm doing, is really, you need a dedication, you need investment into those projects, because the documentary and the street photography, and it's not quite, it's a rewarding experience, but it's not rewarding, profession monetary
Right.
wise. And so I think, I would probably will stay as a software engineer, so I'm making money from one place, so then it can fund my hobby.
Yes. I think that's a great plan. Yeah.
Yeah, so I
And you
think,
don't have to find an investor
yes, so
or a
I can,
patron.
publish my own book, and don't worry about other thing. And
Yeah, because the Pleasanton one was self-published,
yes,
right?
yes,
So yeah, that one's not necessarily in print available. But the shelter in place one is, which you self-published as well. Um,
yes,
correct? Yeah. So, but that one is available for sale. Um, so yeah, you've put a lot into it, and we are as a, I mean, as the museum, but also I would imagine the community is very grateful, even if not everybody knows it yet because they haven't seen all the pictures, but I'm sure that they will be. um, so I think that goes through the questions that I am seeing. Are there, this will be kind of one of the last chances for the people watching to ask any questions. So be sure to ask those. Um, and then Tao, is there anything else that you would like to add as we close out our program tonight?
yes, I just want to thank, Pleasanton, the people in Pleasanton, and also the people in the photos, and it's really, the inspiration is coming from them, and just like the photographer's statement of the book is really, I drew everywhere I go, I drew inspiration, encouragement from people I met, and so without them, and I couldn't have done all those things, and also want to thank, Museum on Main, and really, it's such an honor to get a chance to showcase all those photos. And as a photographer, this kind of opportunity it doesn't come easily or often. And it's really a great honor. And so I, one thing I want to say is Diane Abbas, and is a great photographer of the past century. And in her book, I went to SF MoMA to see her exhibition, and I bought a book. The name of the book is called In the Beginning, and so one of a statement from Diane Abbas is, "I'm full of a sense of promise, like I often have, and to be always, having a strong sense of always being at the beginning." And as a photographer, every photo is when it's finished, and the next thing is a new beginning. And so it's as always have to move forward, and it's so as long as I'm staying in Pleasanton, I will always be your community photographer. And thank everybody.
Oh, well, thank you. I hope that you're going to stay in Pleasanton for a lot longer. I hope you stay our community photographer, and I love that it's the beginning. And I didn't also circle back to this either, but I can't believe that your son wrote that. What a profound young man he must be. That is what that must have been a special moment for you as a father, to have your son see that in your work and to be able to articulate that. That's so special. So anyway, I just forgot to mention that, but I can't believe as a ninth grader that he was able to articulate that so profoundly. So thank you to you for this interview, for your photos, for being our community photographer, and for your time tonight, and just for all that you do, for your generosity. So thank you for that. Thank you to everybody who was here with us tonight, and for those who'll be watching in the future. We are going to close out this discussion while showing you the Pleasanton ones once more. So this is our last program for this 2020 year. So from all of us at the museum, we want to wish you all a very happy holiday season. We hope that wherever you may be, that you are happy and healthy and safe. And we hope that we will see you at some point in 2021. So we will now share the Pleasanton ones. Good night, everybody.